What is up, guys? Lord Nick here, bringing you another episode of the Dangerous Game Podcast. This is going to be episode number 12. So happy that you all can join me yet again. So let's get started, guys, real early here. I have no news really to update you on, but we're going to be talking today about pro play to solo queue. And what I mean by that is how you can transfer what the pros are playing to what you are playing. It's kind of an easy task, but hey, it takes some time, unfortunately. Um, on that same topic, though, we'll also be talking about learning a new champion or new role, how to do so successfully, um, and what are some tips and tricks to kind of figure those things out, and some of the extra tools that you might be able to use to help you out. And then finally, how to learn new builds. All of these things have a lot to do with each other, so we're going to probably be talking about them interchangeably today, opposed to the usual format where give you kind of the topic, talk about that topic for a while, and then kind of go into the next one. Each of these ones have something to do with each other today, so we're gonna just kind of dive into all three at the same time. But to start off, guys, we're gonna be talking about that pro play to solo queue. So, if you haven't seen it or haven't done it, pro play to solo queue is generally when somebody goes and watches a pro game and sees, you know what, they're playing Pyke mid. I want to play Pyke mid. And they just jump into solo queue with Pyke mid. Now, this can be done in a better way that wouldn't immediately impact games. Or if this person already plays Pyke mid and they're like, aha, vindication, maybe that's fine. But the better way of approaching something like this, taking a pro pick and adding it to your repertoire, is generally going to be, of course, practicing it in a non-solo queue environment. A normals game with friends, or just a normals draft game for, I don't know, about 6, 7 games at the bare minimum. Like, it'd still be recommended. You'd probably try it in about a pool of 50 games, as that's generally where win rates change by increasing or decreasing due to pick strength and um, your own ability of the champion. By 50 games, most people have a very good understanding of their champion, or at least a relatively good one, in which that's probably about your best time to move it to solo queue. Now, that being said, sorry, really tired still. Woke up real late. Anyhow, that being said, you still have to really worry about, your ability to learn a champion. It can be different between different people. For instance, I can generally find great success on just taking a champion I've never played into ranked, for the first time and win for the first like 20 games, and then after that I start having issues with it because I'm abusing the champion's innate strengths opposed to actually learning the champion. So there is that little bit of a window where if a champion is very strong, you actually find ways to think that you're a god at this champion, even though you just know the base mechanics and you're not learning the full repertoire of what the champion wants to do. Um, which ends up being this kind of idea that you have that you are extremely skilled at them, but unfortunately, it's like a bait and switch. Basically, you're going in with the mentality that you're going to dominate with this champion, and then all of a sudden you start losing with them, and so you get very demoralized with them. The first loss really you're not demoralized, but you're like after like 4 losses in a row, you start to question how good you are, how good this champion is. You're not questioning what you did wrong with it. You're not trying to learn from it. You just think the champion's bad and you're going to dump it. So, to prevent this, this idea of watch the pros, play the champion, champion sucks, stop playing the champion, see the pros play it, get angry about this. The ways you prevent it is by taking it into that normals game, into those normals drafts games, and playing it for about that 50 game period, because that's where you really learn the champion. You learn a lot more about how you should be playing mechanically. For instance, we could take an easy champion like Brand. He has a base combo of EQW, and the reason you do EQW is the E sets them on fire, the Q hits them and burns them, and the W then the Q hits them and stuns them. My bad. Everything burns them, and then his W sets them ablaze and does a lot of extra damage. This is a base 3 ability combo on Brand. Most people should know this combo. But a lot of people either don't do this one properly, or they do a slightly different one where they decide to do WQE. Now, this is less effective as your W does more damage when they're already on fire. So starting off with it, sure, will give you the burn where you can throw out your Q and dang, you can throw out that Q and hit and stun them, and then they burn more. And I guess you could use your E to spread the fire, but like overall, this isn't super effective, right? One of the other things you do is in a team fight, you throw out a Q and then you E that person so it spreads to everybody, and then you W and everybody takes extra damage. So there's a lot of different routes you can approach with the brand combo. But most people only touch up on one of the two very basic ones, which is either the EQW or the WQE. And nobody really kind of approaches the idea of doing it slightly differently than that. Maybe you don't want to do the full combo. Maybe you want to do just an E on that person and then a W that hits everybody, and you want to save that Q until somebody comes up to you. Maybe you want to start off with your R, and then in the midst of it, once one person's hit on fire, you spread your E so that when it bounces to another target that's on fire, it moves faster and bounces faster, so they have less time to react after that. And then maybe you want to throw a W down and start burning everybody. Like, there's so many things that you can do and change up his combo, and just by adding in his R to the combo, it can change up a lot of things too. So just that basic champion, that easy playstyle of brand. There's so many different things you could do with this kit, but you wouldn't know this off the start of it unless you played a lot of brand. You'd have to learn how to play brand to know how to do all these things with him. So what is the logical step then, right? Like, do you just go to this normal solo queue thing? No, one of the other things you can do, which is going to be talking about, this is where we're going to kind of move towards learning a new champion or a new role, is going to be watching videos on this person. You could be going in with this champion and be like, you know what? I know how to play brand support. Brand support is something I'm really good at, but I want to play brand mid now. So you're not really moving from champions, you're moving champion to a different role. And this is just as difficult as learning a new champion or or just learning a new role in general. Now, learning the new role can be easier with an adaptive or versatile champion like Brand or Morgana or Lux, or somebody who can move between roles, or even Aatrox who can move up to top lane or jungle or mid. Like, versatility helps. A versatile champion does definitely help bridge the gap, but there's still different mechanics you have to learn. And one of those things that people just never do, and I've noticed with a lot of my friends who are low elo individuals that constantly ask me for assistance, and I haven't been asked nearly as much as some of them have started to approach gold, but they still do. Still, some of them still do ask me quite a bit, how can I get better at the game? And one of the biggest things that you have to let them know, and for any of you who are lower elo or even higher elo that just want to learn how to get better, watch videos, guys. There's so many people that are putting out content nowadays. You can look up guides on Pro Guides. You can look up stuff on MobaFire as much of MobaFire has become kind of a joke. You could still just watch videos on YouTube from anybody from like Solo Renekton Only to even Panzer Dragon or Red Mercy or Philo. There's the Exiles. There's so many people that are putting out content that's actually potentially helpful for you that you could do that. Another big thing is reading patch notes, because patch notes will tell you, hey, this person's been updated. Something that might fly under the radar for most people, you could be like, huh, that's an interesting small little buff to that person that I can maybe potentially start abusing them with. There's certain, key bits of information that if you don't read, watch, or just review, you're going to miss out on, and that's going to make it harder for you, because if somebody else is doing that, they're going to get better. You're not. Like, you have to use all the tools around you to make sure that you can improve on it. Now, also with learning a new champion, practice tool is extremely useful. Practice tool is something you can go into and start learning what your combos are. Start learning how to land your combos, how you flash with this champion. If there's a dash, can you go over walls? All these different small nuanced things that you can do with the champion, you can learn in practice tool, and it gives you a chance to learn it. For any of you that are wondering, most of the time when I'm doing one of my kind of quick guides, which I don't do them nearly as often as I used to, but when I do a kind of quick guide, these are champions that I've already been playing for a while, and I've already probably practiced them at least one time in Practice Tool at some point in the period that I've ever picked up the champion. Usually, if I'm like, you know what, I want to pick up a new champion, I'm either playing them in a normals game first, or I take them into the Practice Tool and I practice all their abilities and combos. These are just these are things that are there for you to learn with. Another big thing is if you have a big group of friends that you love to hang out with, do custom games, guys. Have custom games and actually take them seriously. Start trying to actually, dominate your friends. They might not appreciate it as much, but maybe they do. Maybe they're just as competitive and they love to have that edge where it's just as competitive as you. So, I mean, use all of the things that are around you as opportunities to grow as a player. Don't just imagine that you're going to grow magically one day. You're not going to. There's some people that are innately given the prodigious powers of playing League, but there's other people that have to work at it, and anybody can get to the level that a pro is at with enough work and dedication and effort put into it. It just might take a lot more for you. So just try to utilize everything that's there. If you do, it makes it a lot easier and it makes it so much simpler for you. Think of it this way: those pros had to discover a lot of this stuff. They had to figure out how to play it, be it a Korean pro or an American pro. People had to figure out how to do these things, and you don't have to figure it out anymore. That takes out a huge part of the equation. Unknown is always the hardest thing. Solving the unknown is always the hardest thing. So when there's less unknowns to be solved, it just means all you have to do is learn what is no longer an unknown. So there's somebody that's going to be teaching it. There's somebody who's already told people about it. There's somebody who's already playing it. You just got to watch it. You got to read it. You got to learn it. Super, super easy way to kind of gain you some more LP that way is, doing that. One of the next things you could do. Oh crap! I forgot my Facebook's open. That's what that little ding was. Whoopsie daisy. Um, one of the next things is learning new builds, guys. This goes hand in hand with learning a new champion or learning a new role. You have to learn different builds and how to build differently on champions. Even when you haven't read a new build on a champion, you have to be able to assess your situation and be able to learn how to change your build to adapt to the game that you're currently in. So, for instance, one of the champions I'm really good at adapting my build with is Ornn. Ornn is one of my favorite champions to play. He is so much fun, and when he is good, he is really, really good. And right now, I feel like he's in a solid spot. Now, anyhow, to learn new builds on Ornn, I initially will look at champion.gg. What is his top build? Okay, so this is his top rune path, this is his top build path. How would I adapt either of these to make it better for me? Now, rune path wise, I have actually been one of the ones helping set one of the rune path trends recently. Me and one of the other Ornn mains have both came to a conclusion that one of the rune paths that we have really kind of helps build the champion upward. That being said, there's a couple of other things you could do that would um, help you learn the new build paths, and some of those is experimenting in Practice Tool like you do with just learning the champion combos. One of the things is practicing it in a normal game. Really, you have to be able to look at what the enemy team is and what you're against. So in lane, you're going to want one or half an item, half to one an item, half an item to one full item to help you fight your lane opponent. You then want to start building priority based off of who is fed on the enemy team, who are the stronger champions, who do you have to worry about as the game goes later. So for instance, if I'm versing, let's say a Kennen in the top lane, I'm playing Ornn. One of the things I'm going to want to get first is probably my Merc Treads and start working on the catalyst towards an Abyssal Mask. Now, if that Kennen starts going AD, I'd want to shift my build towards armor, which would probably mean I want to go towards a Iceborne Gauntlet. Now, if that's the case, let's say he doesn't, though. Let's say he stays AP Kennen. Then what do I want to do? Well, then I want to kind of get that Negatron Cloak, but I don't really want to finish that item. As much as Abyssal Mask is a really, really good item on Ornn, and it gives me cooldown reduction, I want to make sure that I'm building other things that give me cooldown reduction and HP, and possibly a little bit of armor, because Kennen still does decent amounts of AD damage mixed in with his AP. But also, I'm worrying about their ADC and their probable, Lee Sin or Kayn or Aatrox or some type of AD jungle, most likely. in which then I want to get I want to get a Glacial Shroud, and I want to get me a Kindle Gem. And the reason why is that gives me cooldown reduction for poking in lane. It gives me resistances to not have to fear the other members of the team roaming up to attack me. And on top of that, it gives me opportunities to build into different items as I see fit. Now, note that is a very key thing that a lot of people don't really think about, is that you don't have to complete an item to get power spikes. Certain champions, and most champions actually, can succeed off of one completed item or no completed item and a ton of the build piece components, so that when you do start getting ahead or farming enough, you can choose which item you think is going to be more integral. This leaves avenues for you to get stronger, but it'll allows you to be slightly stronger than not buying an item at all. So it's like, oh look, I can't build the item that I want to build. Let me just get this other piece to another item so that once I get the amount of money for one or the other, I can build one or the other. ADCs used to do this a lot back in the day, where you'd build a BF sword and then a Zeal, and some people would get the rapid fire finish because it then is cheaper than an IE, and you still get the AD damage, from the BF sword, but then you're getting crit, range, and a static proc from your rapid fire. So all in all, you're not losing a whole lot. You're not gaining that 200% crit ratio, but you're gaining damage, a decent amount of crit chance, range, and a bonus damage proc from it. So there was reasons to not finish your IE first. So there's different things you can do like that would help increase your chances of learning how to win in lane, by learning how to not have to force yourself to finish an item first. Now, this works primarily with tanks. You can do this with mid laners as well, but the general gist of it is to build your first item, because that usually will give you a big spike. Those are the mid laners that do well right now, are the ones that spike off of 1-2 items. So if you wish to learn more about this, you can also help look them up on MobaFire as well. You can look it up on Champion.gg. You can look it up on Pro Builds, or what is it, Mobalytics. There's so many things you can look up online that would help you learn different builds. Now, adjusting your build path is going to come down to you. What do you see in your game? And that's going to vary. It's going to vary from game to game. You're never going to vary your build path the same way every time. Just because there's a team full of AD people doesn't mean I always go the same exact build there. I might still get a Catalyst versus my lane opponent because it's just a really good item on Ornn, but from that point on, I might finish my Iceborne Gauntlet while getting a Balmy Cinder in the middle, while going for that Sunfire Cape, and get a Ninja Tabbies, which would be a completely different build path than I had done the game before versus a Kennen. So, just because you have to vary your build path doesn't mean you have to vary it a ton. It means you just might have to change one or two items that would give you slightly different stats that would then be considered more beneficial. That Kindle Gem, instead of becoming a Spirit Visage, might become a Warmogs for that game. I might still build the same core components that I generally build on Ornn, but I might change what they build into. Alright guys, I think that basically summarizes the gist of this video. How to teach you how to learn new builds, what you should kind of do before you taking pro picks into solo queue, and how you can learn a new champion or role, and tools of how to get better at them individually. I hope you guys very much find this educational and found this helpful in any way, or enjoyed this. And I thank every single one of you for stopping by and hanging out and watching these videos. They mean a lot to me. But please leave comments down below, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, go find my Twitch for the few times that I do stream a week, and maybe I can see you guys in the next video. And I hope you all have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day.